Welcome back to the channel, everyone. My name is Nick. For those that are new to the channel, hopefully by the end of this video, you do become a subscriber. Let's dive on in and let's actually talk a lot about what's been happening over the last couple weeks, specifically regarding the SEC. Because, for the last roughly 4 years or so, the SEC has been a big problem. In fact, they have been a big obstacle for this entire space to grow, not just, 5 times bigger, but 10 to 100 times bigger than what it is right now. And if you think that that figure is insane or it's, preposterous, I want you guys to understand that when we think about how big crypto could be, it could be absolutely massive and in the hands of, hundreds of millions simply overnight if there was proper regulations and those regulations led to adoption. Right now, we are starting to see some of the biggest moves being made around the SEC to actually make that a possibility in the US, but also globally. Let's start off with this post here from Cynthia Loomis, which did say, "Digital assets are the future. The US can either pave the way or fall behind. I lead my colleagues to seek clarification from the SEC on digital asset ETP staking restrictions to make US asset managers competitive in the global market." Now, we actually do have a little bit of a breakdown on the reasoning and intentions regarding this instruction. We request responses to the following questions, and they do outline that in this, and they need to respond by April 1st. So again, it feels as if we are now starting to get a little bit of a sense of urgency on the SEC side from not only just, now senators, but if we think about what's been happening over the last couple weeks, we go all the way back to Davos, right? Where BlackRock and I want to say Morgan Stanley, they both said and they urged the SEC to approve tokenization endeavors in the US around stocks and equities. Now, if we think about that, right, it feels as if there's a lot of pressure and a lot of urgency put on the SEC now from the biggest names. And guess what? It's working. We go over here. Do you guys remember how I reported on the fact that the SEC was pausing a lot of lawsuits, including, of course, the Binance one and Coinbase? Yeah, well, there's a few other ones that could very well be paused. This was a big shift in the SEC side of things because, again, it showed us that, all right, this SEC means business in terms of them actually flipping their stance from a, anti-crypto sort of agency to now all right, let's support innovation. Let's, support progress as well around technology in the US. And they did start by pausing a lot of cases. Now, of course, we do look at the one big one on this list, which is, of course, the Ripple case. Because the Ripple case still remains one of the biggest cases in crypto history, and it's still ongoing. So we definitely have to focus on that. Now, the deadline for that is April 16th. A lot of people have been speculating that we will most likely see a settlement prior, which we'll talk about in this video. Now, over here, we got the big update on the 20th, which was the SEC withdrew its appeal in case over crypto broker-dealer rules that would have given the agency jurisdiction over decentralized crypto protocols. This was a big one, and again, considering the pause on the cases, mixed with this, it kind of hinted at the fact that we are actually seeing a shift. Like, it's actually happening now. We don't have to speculate on if this SEC is going to be pro-crypto or not. They are showing us and proving to us that they are. But then it quickly followed up with this, which did just happen. This happened yesterday. OpenSea. Another rollback by the SEC Gov's Enforcement Division. The agency is closing its investigation into NFT platform OpenSea. And here we actually have an update from the CEO of OpenSea. The SEC is closing its investigation into OpenSea. This is a win for everyone who is creating and building in our space. Trying to classify NFTs as a security would have been a step backward, one that misinterprets the law and shows or slows innovation. Every creator, big or small, should be able to build freely without unnecessary barriers. Now, listen, I completely agree. And I think that this is a huge win for the industry. And This was just one of many. So think about what happened, right? Number one, we get a pause on cases. We get the SEC withdrawing from, its appeal in the case over crypto broker dealer rules. Then we now have the investigation closed with OpenSea, followed by case dismissed. Two words that every defendant in every case yearns to hear. Today, we can announce, upon full commission approval, the SEC Gov is dropping our case. There will be no settlement or compromise. A wrong will simply be made right. From the SEC. That's something that we're not used to hearing. We still have work to do and we can't take our eyes off the ball. Legislation is critical to ensuring this type of unlawful behavior doesn't happen again. We won't stop fighting until we have the clear rules needed to enable the industry to truly thrive in the United States. Collaboration will be key. We look forward to working with Congress and the SEC staff on this next phase of progress. I want to thank the amazing legal team at Coinbase and our lawyers at Watchell and Sullivan and Cromwell who worked tirelessly on this misguided witch hunt. And thank you to Brian Armstrong and a few, of course, of their board members and things like that. We got to change the playbook for how a public company responds to a lawsuit from a major regulator. Now the US can finally get back to doing what it does best, building innovative tech that improves the world. And yeah, listen, this is huge. And we even got an update from a lawyer in the space that quoted this and said, everyone hoped the new SEC would end its regulation by enforcement campaign against crypto, but it's still mind-blowing to see it happen like this. The agencies almost never walk away from litigation without at least extracting a face-saving settlement. This is total victory. And yeah, this is why I keep telling everyone, especially XRP holders, we are going to be completely free of the SEC. We are now witnessing the shift. They have completely flipped. It's no joke now. It's happening, or it has happened, I should say, right? When we think about how big this is for this entire industry, we are going to see an immense amount of growth going forward. I'm very excited about this. Now, on top of this, of course, we did get a little bit of an update from Jeremy Hogan, which did say the Coinbase case was dismissed with prejudice, meaning it cannot be refiled later. Not even a settlement agreement with some minor concessions. I guess the SEC is not waiting for Atkins to be confirmed before making big crypto moves. And then, of course, Ripple, we're waiting on it, right? The clock is ticking. And Brad Garlinghouse did quote this. And he said, suffice it to say, as I know there are lots of impatient people, including me, this SEC has demonstrated a clear interest in moving on quickly from the failed regulation by enforcement policies of the last administration. So yeah, listen, things are about to happen fast around the space now. I am very excited to see what happens going forward. And even Coinbase put out a post regarding this, righting a major wrong. Now, in this, they actually broke down how this space has changed completely because of the SEC now, and how things will look going forward, right? Like, as we really think about what's going on, this is the beginning stages to actually getting to a point where we do have pro-innovative legislation in the US, and this entire space is completely cleared. And that's when we get to this point, which is we believe we will eventually get to a point where the majority of the global GDP runs on crypto rails. The key question is whether America will seize the opportunity to build this infrastructure or be left behind. Today, we helped the US take a major step towards building this industry onshore. We must enable entrepreneurs, builders, and innovators to update our financial system and bring the world on chain. In my opinion, this case with Ripple being completely dismissed, it's inevitable. We know it's inevitable because we know that there is no case here. The argument is nonsense. And we even have Meta Lawman, a lawyer in this space, that said Gary Gensler converted the SEC into a political weapon. The SEC has much work to do to restore its credibility. I believe it has the right leadership now to do so. Dismissing the Ripple case and releasing the IG report on Bill Hinman are essential steps in that rehabilitation. Getting this a lot, though, which is a question. When will the Ripple case end? My guess is the case will settle before Ripple has to submit its appellate brief on April 16th. The Ripple situation is more complex than the crypto exchange cases because the parties have to deal with the Torres judgment and disposition of the escrow. Escrow referring to the 125 plus million escrowed by Ripple for the judgment in the case, not the XRP escrow. And yeah, it is a little bit more of a complex case, which is why it has been taking a little bit of time. Even over here from Eleanor Tourette, she's actually quoting Cherry Empress 21 because she put out a post regarding how this case is a little bit different. We actually have here on Ripple, as Cherry Empress 21 notes, it's more procedurally complex than Coinbase because they already have an order from the judge at the district level, which is Judge Torres, to pay the 125 million penalty. Torres, according to the final judgment, will retain jurisdiction over the case for a year until August 7th, 2025, to make sure the terms of the order are met. While the SEC could choose to drop the appeal at the Second Circuit, they would also need to figure out how to approach the district court and possibly come to an agreement on the penalty ruling, reduce or ask to drop, and presumably get Torres's blessing as the presider. There's a degree of uncertainty in all of this because, as one legal source tells me, we are in uncharted territory right now. So yeah, I mean, as we really think about what's happening with the Ripple case, we hate to hear it, right? We hate to hear the idea that this has to drag on a little bit longer. But I do think that we're getting close. I think that we're getting close to this case finally being completely put behind us. I think that we're getting very close to this entire space finally being unleashed as well in the US. And the second that we finally get there, all of the time that we've been waiting, you know, every single day that goes by, every single hour that goes by, all of this will be worth it in the end. I know that it will be because remember what regulation actually is. It's a way to not, only protect us as retail investors, but it's also a way to protect the institutional players, the big banks jumping in, the big, asset management companies jumping in. And that's happening right now. But the problem is that they're not scaling their use cases. They're not scaling the tokenization of everything. And the reason for that being is because there isn't a safety net behind the space yet. Once regulations are in place, there's nothing holding us back anymore. There's nothing stopping innovation. There's nothing slowing innovation down. That's why the regulatory side of things is so important to focus on. But I do think that we are in good hands with this SEC. It's completely night and day compared to the previous admin and the previous SEC. And I just am very, very happy to see what's happening here. From Coinbase, from the pause on, litigation, to even OpenSea. All of this stuff is showing us that they're serious. So I'm very excited, and I'm very excited about what's going to be happening with the Ripple case. I do believe that this case is going to be put behind us this year. And I do think that from that point on, right, that's going to be the big thing that accelerates everything. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys definitely like, subscribe to notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.